Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, welcome. And thank you so much for being here. I'm Kim Serafini, the founder and CEO of Positive Prime. We are in for the most extraordinarily fast-paced, fun-packed, yes, that is a streamer. I'm trying to take myself a whole heap less seriously and be a lot more playful. And these kinds of things, they remind me to do that. But of course, it is my birthday. And if you've joined us late, then you'll know no, you won't know, that Pam and Patty have actually just sung me happy birthday. So I'm feeling incredibly happy. We're going to cover a couple of really important things in this little workshop together. And one of them is absolutely going to be about the power of positive priming, absolutely. But what we will also do is really discuss the 8 most exquisite, exceptional, and fast-acting strategies that are evidence-based that I know work to help successful change become graceful, elegant, and effortless. So if you'll do me a favor, if you're just joining us, make sure you've muted yourself. I may mute you, but if you could make sure that you're muted, that would be awesome. You need to really make sure that down in the left-hand corner, usually in the Zoom app, there's actually a mute button. So keep yourself muted, because otherwise it actually interrupts the broadcast for everybody else. Depending upon your internet connection, Zoom's actually a fantastic platform. Like, just think about how amazing and beautiful and wonderful it is that we can all be here together now, right? Like 5 years ago, this wasn't even possible. There wasn't the technology even imagined, let alone developed, for all of us to gather on a free platform on the internet. Isn't that just wild? Absolutely wild. All right, so for those of you who don't often meet in Zoom rooms like this, welcome. Where do I even begin? So I almost want to jump to the punchline. I'm kind of like the person who likes the bottom line, and then I can actually relax. I know what we're talking about, and I can ease into them listening. Are you similar? I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to give you the bottom line. The bottom line is we at Positive Prime have a couple of huge announcements today. We've got a couple of really amazingly beautiful offers. But I want to go through the 8 strategies first so that you can write them down, and then we'll discuss them as we actually go through. So if you would like change, any change that you need to make, whether it's actually improving your health or your relationships or your performance or the results in your business or an aspect of your personality or your character, it doesn't matter what it is that you want to actually improve. If you want to change something, the truth is you're going to need an effortless, successful, rapid, awesome way to go about that. So we're going to dive into it. So remember, of course, that if you've only just joined us, it's really important that you double check that you are in fact muted. So make sure that you definitely go down and mute yourself, which means you'll see in the little microphone there's a little red line.
I'm putting it on mute and it keeps going off.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sherry, for saying that you keep putting it on mute and it keeps going off. That's absolutely fantastic. And I'll tell you why. It's not you. I need to own up. So I actually have master control. So if some people aren't muted, I can mute them. But that's only if I notice. So I will not unmute you again. You'll stay muted. All right?
Thank you.
So, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so there's a lot of us here today. So if you'd like to know how to make sure change can be incredibly graceful and swift, you need these 8 strategies in your formula. You must be super crystal clear on what it is that you want. Absolutely crystal clear, and you must absolutely state it in the positive. The easiest way for most human beings to understand what it is that they want is that they get very, very clear about what it is that they don't want. So let's just say you don't want to feel lethargic anymore. Well, you write down, I want to feel energetic. But define that. Does that mean that you want to feel like you've got lots of vibrancy and cheerfulness and playfulness? What is that you actually want, right? And is it that you don't want to feel depleted after you've actually expended a lot of energy? Well, what that means is that you actually feel like you are overflowing and you have more than enough actually continuing to fill you up. So you don't use words like depleted. So you're getting the idea. So you be super crystal clear about what it is that you want. And your brain absolutely loves more than anything to be able to imagine the perfect outcome. So if you were a golfer, you would ask yourself, what would the perfect shot look and feel like now? Right? So for those of you who have just joined us, remember that we're going through the 8 extraordinary strategies that are all evidence-backed. So there's lots of great research that's been done that helps you to make changes swiftly, effortlessly, gracefully, easily. That's the most important thing for me. And I actually believe that real change, fundamental change, happens to us organically, naturally, automatically. It shouldn't be something that's forced, right? And it should actually be in alignment with who we are as magnificent human beings. First one, you get absolutely crystal clear about what it is that you want. And preferably you do that across many, many different areas of your life, okay? So you might break your life down into professional and personal. You might break your life down into the financial aspects of my life and the health aspects of my life. And you might actually break down health into the differences between fitness, you know? So the second thing is that you need to make sure that you get yourself into flow, and you need to practice how you get yourself into flow. Now, the truth is that actually does require training, brain performance training. And we're going to talk a lot more about that today. And I'm going to tell you, for the very first time in my life, I have used a professional product, not a toy, that has allowed me to understand being in flow, and it's called Focus Band. So I want you to all write down Focus Band, and it's actually an Australian-based company, and I have the most fantastic story to tell you about this. I have been trialing this. It's a very fancy EEG device. It is all about the electrical brain and how the electrical brain actually informs the chemical brain. And I'm going to invite you at the very end to a very special webinar with the man who actually essentially is behind this. So there's a team, a father and a son team, with an incredible inventor who's also really the third part of that team. And the 3 of them have been working together very successfully for 20 plus years. This is already an amazing story I want to tell you about that involves #1 golfers in the world who've actually won PGAs and won at Augusta. It involves teams in the NFL and the NBL and so forth and so forth. So if you really want to achieve something amazing, you must be in a brain state that is flow. And that means that you must be able to be hyper-focused whilst maintaining unbelievable awareness. And that is a skill that you can learn. And I'm going to tell you that story as it relates to some tests and trials we've just done with children of special needs, with CEOs and with athletes and with people who run large teams and organizations. The third thing is that you need to get yourself into a positively primed state. So you need to feel happy, right? Now, I'm going to explain to you why whenever we learn something new, we're actually going through a change. And if we actually want to be really amazing in the way that we learn, and we want to remember it and we want to recall it, the truth is we actually need to be in that state when we're learning, right? The fourth thing is you must truly be grateful for yourself and your magnificence and your skills and talents and gifts and your experiences and all of your previous achievements and the opportunities that you have now. So the fourth strategy that is all about how you achieve more, enjoy yourself through the journey, and you actually really reap the rewards is about this thing that is really the giant aspect to any formula, and that's gratitude and appreciation and thankfulness. So you might write there that you need to be crystal clear about your strengths and how amazing you are, how special and precious and unique you are, your talents, your gifts, the amazing experiences that have led to you developing your skills. What is it about your character and your personality that makes you remarkable? Who can you be? And how are you being so that you show up the very best that you can be? And how grateful you are for you being you, and how grateful you are for the opportunities that exist right now, and how grateful you are for the resources that you have that you can harness and leverage and utilize. Okay, so that is the fourth aspect of the formula. The fifth one is that you must always repeat the positive 1,000+ times. Okay, so in the world where we have 50,000 thoughts a day, right, 50,000 thoughts a day, and we know that scientists believe that around about 50 to 80% of them are negative, and they're the same as they were yesterday, the day before, the year before, etc., etc., etc. The truth is that you actually need to change the ratios. You need to change the percentages for yourself. And so most of you know I'm very famous for the pink ocean story. And what I basically say is that if we had pink oceans, pink positivity, where pink actually literally equals positivity, if we had pink oceans, of course, what would arise would be essentially the beautiful glaciers would be pink, and then the icebergs would be pink. And most people have learned about the brain, or about thinking and consciousness and unconsciousness and subconsciousness, and they've seen this image where the actual truth is the top part of the iceberg is the bit that's poking above the waterline, and that's what everybody thinks is the conscious mind, right? And so for at least the last couple of decades, we've been thinking about what do we do about maximizing consciousness, right? And then there were people who came across the subconscious, and they started to understand that, and they said, well, actually, you know what we really need to worry about? We really need to be very focused on what happens below the waterline in, of course, the iceberg analogy. And of course, that's so much bigger in terms of its proportion and in perception to what's above the line. And so everyone started to think, oh, wow, you know, change is all about understanding your limiting beliefs, and you have to actually know what your limiting beliefs are before you can actually delete them. And then there was all of this effort in how to delete these limiting beliefs, and really about how do we actually change the part of the iceberg that's below the surface, that which we can't see, so our subconscious. But the truth is that these beautiful icebergs exist floating around in an ocean, right? And if the ocean is pink positive, then what actually should be impacting the conscious and the subconscious is actually the other than consciousness, the ocean in which we actually exist in. And so if we focus on being in a positive environment, and we're working in organizations where the structures and the policies and the procedures are actually positive, wow, imagine what kind of icebergs we would all be. Right, so the fascinating thing is that for us to actually change this ocean of other than consciousness, out of which the rest arises, this is what influences our non-conscious, our unconscious, our subconscious, and of course our conscious. What we of course need is we need to actually be in a really super beautiful flow state. We need to be absolutely positive, happy, vibrant, cheerful, grateful, appreciative, compassionate, loving. We need to be, you know, really in this state of positive affect. And we need to repeat something 1,000 times. Repetition is the mother of skill. That's how we learn. And all change requires us learning something new, and then not only learning something new, but actually having it as our understanding so that it's applied and lived in our lives. Like, that's where we get into all of these philosophical arguments about when is something knowledge, and what if we know something and we don't do something? What is that about? Is it that we don't actually have enough leverage on ourselves? Is it that the opposite is not painful enough yet, etc., etc.? But let me go down into the next part of these 8, and that is to personalize. All right. So the interesting thing is that most people don't necessarily achieve what it is they truly desire to achieve, because it's not about their wholeness and their completeness as a human being in this time on this planet for this lifetime, right? They haven't actually understood what it really means, what's significant to them. So it's interesting because a lot of people say, oh, I might want to earn X amount of dollars a year, or I might want to be a specific weight. But what they haven't actually understood is that if those goals are attached to what they think is important to other people, they will never achieve them. They have to personalize it. It has to be about them. It has to be about what is important to you. So you've heard from all of these beautiful, wise people, these gurus, these incredible mentors, and they essentially say, if you don't have enough leverage on yourself, quite frankly, you won't achieve what it is that you want to achieve, because you haven't made the outcome truly personal to you, and you haven't made the non-achievement of it truly personal to you, right? So I'm going to say that spend some time in silence and really think about, what does this mean to me? And why is this important to me? What about it is meaningful and significant? And focus on doing things that are not urgent and important. Focus on doing things that are meaningful and significant, right? Now, the next thing, of course, is that the seventh aspect is you need support. We all need support. We all must have support. We all achieve more in a graceful, elegant, swift, and very smart way when we are well supported. That means we have to not only support ourselves, right, and believe in ourselves, is that we must have people around us who believe in us too. That's just the truth. That's why community is so important. You know, it's interesting. In team sports, where there's a grand final at the end, they're very clear about the outcome. What is it that they're actually looking for, right? They're very clear about who they need to be. They're really clear about their strengths and their gifts and their talents. They're very clear about what experience they can actually leverage and harness. But you know what? They've got their team members to support them. And when you're in a marriage, I actually once heard this, it was really beautiful. And let's just say it probably applies to my own parents, who are still very happily married after nearly 50 years. You know, both of them may have wanted to actually go through separation or divorce at some stage, maybe even 10 times each, but never simultaneously at the same time. And they've always had the other to lift them up and bring them back when they've wanted to run away. And I think that that happens in all organizations, in all teams, and in all partnerships. Right, in all relationships. Some of us are feeling down sometimes, and we need others to lift us up. Some of us are there to actually see the beauty in others. Some of us are there to actually shine a light on another's strength so that they truly understand what is unique and special and precious about them, right? So I actually do not believe that anybody succeeds in any change whatsoever unless they've actually got great support. It's a really key ingredient, right? It's one of those 8 strategies. And I love that last week we had this really fun and playful party that was about really sharing our wins, because in this day and age, I'm sure you've seen it, I'm sure you've felt it. People are way too quick to pull somebody else down and criticize them instead of actually telling somebody else what's magnificent about them, right? So few people are absolutely delighted in somebody else's success, and what they don't understand is that that's actually a lack vibration in quantum physics, right? If you are absolutely 1,000% comfortable in how happy you are for somebody else to have the one thing that you really truly want, you will be in vibrational alignment with that, right? So be a cheerleader for other people's success, other people's achievements, other people's accomplishments, and other people's wins. You will be in vibrational alignment with that. And then you will actually find yourself in a great community of people who are like that for you. All right. And then I actually touched on the last one, which is celebrate. So we all deserve that dopamine hit when we celebrate, when we savor. that we actually are allowed to feel really proud of ourselves for accomplishing something that we set out to do, where we stretched ourselves, okay? So in the world of positive psychology, there are amazing people like Martin Seligman and another professor named Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, and he's very famous for this concept called flow. And the truth is, we need to be sufficiently challenged outside our comfort zone to actually get into flow, right? Sean Acor, who's a real dear friend of mine, I admire and respect him, and he's really influenced Robert McPhee, another dear friend of mine who was one of the founders of the Transformational Leadership Council, along with Jack Canfield and a few others. So interestingly enough, the fascinating definition that they actually have of happiness is what you actually feel in pursuit of your greatness, of your full potential, right? So happiness is not an end state. It's actually something that we experience whilst we're changing, whilst we're growing, whilst we're improving. So I've just given you the fastest lesson I can possibly give you on the 8 strategies that are fundamental to making sure that you successfully change in a swift manner, in a beautiful, graceful and elegant flow, in a way that actually really makes sure that you are in alignment with all of the universal forces that are going to help facilitate your successful change. So now let me get into why does that really apply to Positive Prime and what's important about change. So I'll give you a little story. The other day, I went to go and see a speaker's coach. I'm incredibly blessed that the local government has actually gifted to me, in terms of some sponsorship, the time and the intelligence and the talents and the experience of this amazing speaker's coach. And interestingly enough, I received some feedback. And the feedback requires me to change, okay? And the change is uncomfortable, like a lot of change can be. It's a bit like if I'd just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and I realized that I had to significantly change my entire diet. What if I no longer could have any high glycemic foods? Well, the fact is I'd have to learn about what was actually beneficial to me in this state and how I can actually harness some new knowledge and some new evidence-based research to improve my diabetes situation, right? Whatever the significant and meaningful changes are that we need to make, it usually requires that we learn something new, right? And it requires us moving from here to there, so there has to be an improvement or a growth. And for most of us, it's uncomfortable. So I'm going to give you the very short summary on why the brain hates change. And the truth is the brain doesn't like it, really doesn't like it, and it is actually quite uncomfortable for every single person on the planet. It's more uncomfortable the bigger the change, right? And the more you want to hold on to the way of being. So I'm going to use the example of a diabetic, right? So if you absolutely love white bread with a beautiful, delicious strawberry jam on it, it's sugar, 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 right? That's not so great if you've just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Okay, so what you need to do is learn what could you replace that with. So the interesting thing is that if you'd have known what you should have been doing, but you didn't do it or you haven't been doing it, there's got to be a reason why really smart people don't do what they know they should do when they have the knowledge, right? So we have to actually address that. But it also means that you need to actually learn something new. Well, the brain needs to be right about everything. That's a survival instinct. It's actually deep within the reptilian part of your brain, the ancient part of your brain, the brain that's been your brain for millennia, right? When we were out there and we were nomadic and we were on the plains and we saw something advancing to us and we didn't know what it was, so we actually had to learn what it was. The first thing we had to decide was, is it going to kill us? And if we didn't know what it was, we had to automatically assume it was going to kill us. Otherwise, we could perhaps be in a place where we didn't want to be and we'd be killed. So we learned by observing others, but we also had to be right. And our brains developed this requirement, this need, this insatiable appetite to be right. It has to be accurate and it has to be right, right? If you get it wrong, you might be dead. And this is what the reptilian brain thinks. So that's why you get fight and flight and freeze. You get essentially all of your body's resources going into sending all of the energy to your major muscles so that you can get ready to run if you need to, run away from whatever it is that's going to kill you. And of course, that's a metaphorical kill us these days. That could be debt, it could be divorce, it could be disease, it could be 1,000 things that really threaten who we are and our enjoyment of life and our status quo, right? So in order for us to change, we actually need to be incredibly uncomfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity. But our brains do not like uncertainty and ambiguity. And guess what? We are training our brains in this modern age to actually really need more certainty. A perfect example I read about in an amazing book by a colleague of mine. I actually worked with this woman 20 years ago as a change management consultant. Her name's Hilary Scarlett, and she's actually written a book called The Neuroscience of Organizational Change. It's an amazing book. But you know, in this day and age, if you live outside of central London and you actually have to catch a train into the centre of London for work, you know when that train's arriving, or even if you know, doing the subway in Manhattan, you've got an app now that says, take the exit to the north east, then go down those stairs, and in 30 seconds a train's going to arrive, and it's going to get you to your destination in 2 minutes. And what that does is trains our brains for certainty. So we have actually become more addicted to certainty. But the truth is innovation, disruption, like we've got more uncertainty in our environment than we've ever had before. And artificial intelligence and augmented reality and machine learning algorithms and the state and rate of technology, all of it is actually bringing more uncertainty and ambiguity. So can you imagine how fried our brains are, right? And do you know what that kind of does for your health? So what we know is that really sustained beta level thinking, and everybody may have heard of gamma waves and theta waves and alpha waves and beta waves, haven't they, in their electrical brain? There's a lot more to learn on this, of course. But if you have an overstimulated mind in some respects, and you are literally in beta thinking for the majority of time, we know there's actually a relationship to Parkinson's, right? We know that if you've actually used up all your dopamine, you actually have other brain degenerative diseases. And so we actually start to get really serious about an amazing revolution, I think, that is coming for those of us who are health coaches, those of us who are executive coaches, those of us who are mentors and consultants and so forth. So what actually happened was I started to dive deep into what's really happening when we're watching a positive prime session. And I'm going to go back to the speaker's coach. So the speaker's coach told me I needed to change. If that speaker's coach had given me the advice, the suggestions, and the recommendations inside perfect summary statements on a slide in a positive prime session, so that when I was actually watching that session, I was receiving those messages and the essence of what the communication is, guess what? My brain would have been seeing the story that needs to become about me while I was in a state of flow, while I was feeling positive. Because as you know, the formula for positive prime sessions is there's a component where there's smiles. So when you see me smile and we smile at each other, and your brain, your actual retina in your eyes processes looking at a certain number of smiles, your brain starts to think that you're smiling even if you're not, and you actually start to produce more serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, and these other neurotransmitters and endorphins. And so you actually get happier, and guess what getting happier does? Happier puts you in a state where you can learn more, right? So if I'd have been seeing the messages about how I need to change, and I was in a state of flow, and I was really, really positive, and then I was feeling so grateful because guess what? I could see these photographs that reminded me of how magnificent I am. And I see these statements that say, I am loved, loving, and lovable. I am special. I am unique. I am proactive. I am organized, whatever the I ams are. And all of it is building up and reminding me about how incredible I am, right? And then I see her message. Now, her message was, and you're going to laugh about this, maybe you won't, be brief, less is more, right? So I've really received this message in a very heightened state. When I'm feeling fearful anyway, because I'm being coached about an area that I want to improve in, and I know that I'm not yet a world-class speaker that can actually have millions and millions of views on the TEDx stage, or I'm there, but I'm not there, right? So I might be an elite athlete, but I'm not yet world number one or in the top 10 on the leaderboard of, you know, an international competition. So I'm in this heightened state and I'm receiving these messages. And if I'm feeling sensitive or insecure, and if I'm actually fearful, I can't receive the messages. And it's harder for me to change because my brain doesn't want to accept it, right? But if I saw less is more, be brief, you are brief, you are concise, you are succinct. And I read, I am succinct, I am concise, I summarize, I keep things brief. Guess what? My actual identity is going to actually acquire that, and all of my behavior is going to align. So I'm in cognitive resonance. I'm in alignment, right? I'm not in cognitive dissonance. It's the opposite. I'm going to start to change automatically and naturally and beautifully because it's going to be a part of who I am and who I believe I am, right? So I want you to imagine if I was watching a positive prime state session like that, and you were as well, and then we were both wearing one of these. So I'm going to tell you this focus band is the most advanced piece of kit on the planet that actually in absolute real time instantaneously gives you feedback through these incredible new apps that, and this is not a toy, so don't even think it's anything like some of the other things that you can see. There's an emergence at the moment about consumer EEGs. But anyway, I yesterday was involved in the demonstration of several people looking at a particular positive prime session, and each of the people, including me, had a focus band on. We were actually reading live for those 3 minutes our gamma waves, our beta waves, our alpha waves, our theta waves, and guess what? We were in group symphony, synergy, we were in group flow, right? The consequences, the implications, the ripple effect of the rest of what I really want to tell you about is just, it's way beyond my wildest imagination, right? See, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm going to go back a step. 20 years ago, I qualified as a sports therapist, as an actual rehabilitation therapist, like a physiotherapist, but actually more like an osteopath. And I specialized in cardiac rehabilitation. And I have to tell you, the polar heart rate monitors that we wore were clunky and chunky. And we would say to people, you know what, in order for you to improve your fitness, you actually need to train within certain heart rate ranges. That was revolutionary 20 years ago. Like the average person going to a gym didn't have a polar heart rate monitor, let alone a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something even more advanced that now has these algorithms that also do breath rate and heart rhythm coherence and also blood pressure simultaneously, et cetera, right? But what you're about to be a part of, if you want to be, is the extraordinary revolution that's going to happen in us understanding our brain health. And more particularly how our electrical brain then has a flow-on effect. Oh, I didn't mean to use flow. Has a almost like an instructional effect on every single other thing that happens inside our bodies. So a lot of us in the positive psychology movement for the last 10 years have been, particularly like me, saying things like, if you experience 15 minutes of anger, there is really good clinical studies, some research that says that's equal to smoking a packet of cigarettes a day on the damage to your health, right? Anger is really super unhealthy for you in terms of turning your body into an acidic environment that allows everything to, quite frankly, flourish, including cancer cells, right? So there's been a lot of emphasis over the last 10 years on how do we alkalize ourselves, right? Well, wouldn't it be amazing if you could actually interrupt the electrical brain's processing so that the instructions didn't even go to the chemical brain, so that that chemical cocktail, those hormones weren't even created that were associated with anger, right? So some of you may know a lot about neurofeedback and some of you may know a lot about EEG already, but the majority of people don't. And what was fascinating was that yesterday I was actually working with the founder of Focus Band, coming up with an agreement, because I actually want to secure an incredible strategic alliance for our Positive Prime professionals and ultimately and eventually all of our Positive Prime premium members, right? So the founder, I'll give you a really, really short summary. The founder coached a couple of world-class #1 golfers who actually won PGA Tour events, et cetera, and is also an electrical engineer, and charges in effect $10,000 a week for a elite golfer or somebody who's an exceptional amateur who wants to really, be successful in professional sport, just to learn about how they can control their electrical brain so that they're in a state of flow. And in sports, they also call it mushin, which is really this Japanese concept of, there's now a documentary that he's been involved in called Be the Ball, which is really about the teachings of the samurai sword warrior. So he was actually demonstrating, if you have a samurai sword, if you actually focus on the sword for 1 millisecond, the opponent will kill you. If you actually focus on the other person for a second, the opponent will kill you. But if you are one with the sword and one in the flow, you will win. And this state is actually this state of motion. So they've done these trials and tests with a whole heap of fancy people at the School of Medicine at the University of Southern California, USC. And of course, we're actually expanding it now. Ultra marathon runners were able to wear this device whilst they're running and train themselves to lower their heart rate by 20 beats per minute. Now, if you know anything about running, you know that's like the 4-minute mile and Roger Bannister. That's impossible. That's ridiculous. But it's actually reality, right? So the founder's name is Henry, and he actually works with his father and another man named Scott. And now we've been working together on how we actually share this with a couple of really amazing mentors who want to understand a lot more about neuroscience and the brain. And we actually want to show people what the research has already done for dealing with pain in elite athletes and also pain with groups of people in organizations, in particular neck pain. The electrical brain actually has a really detrimental impact on neck pain if you don't get the electrical brain right. But what was even more amazing was that we've been able to prove that when I was watching various Positive Prime sessions, I had off the charts brainwaves that are totally related to imagination, creativity, big picture thinking, solutions orientation. It is unbelievable. So one of the first things that happened when I saw Henry speak at an event, and I was also a speaker, was I had this immediate terror inside, like, wow, what if we actually put one of those bands on and we test a whole heap of positive prime sessions, and, you know, what's going to happen? What are we going to see in the electrical brain? We are seeing something incredible. So now we know that the beautiful opportunity that we have is that with watching positive prime sessions regularly, we actually can train ourselves to get into learning how to be in flow. So if you emotionally engage in a positive prime session at around about speed 3 or 4, you will drop into flow, and you'll be able to prove it to yourself with one of these bands on your head. But what if you don't own one of these brands? Well, I think that if you're a consumer, you could go to a positive prime focused band practitioner. So you could go to a brain performance trainer or a brain performance practitioner as certified by Positive Prime and Focus Band. And we could actually train you in how to drop into flow and stay in flow, even while you're playing a game of golf, right? Or even while you're in a stressful negotiation. So Cameron and I were wearing these things. For those of you who don't know, of course, Cameron is my other half, and he is a former very fancy, you know, big time tax accountant and lawyer. And of course, he does the serious stuff at Positive Prime. So he was involved in all the negotiations, and he's actually thinking about the finer details and how to work and what if and where are the risks and, you know, what's the valuation. And anyway, so we're in a really intense negotiation with these guys, and we are in flow. And more to the point, there's this brand new aspect to the app, and it's called group flow. So imagine being in a meeting with people where you were in group flow. And then we were like, imagine if we actually had a community of positive primers, like positive prime influencers, as all of our premium members, and all of us can actually join together with this on our heads. We all watch a positive prime session together and we get into group flow, right? Like seriously, the implications are incredible. So we actually had some people come and do some testing and some trialing and see. I just need to tell you this story. So a father showed up with their son, who is basically about 12 years of age, and the child has been told that he has developmental problems. So he's a special needs child. There's something wrong with his brain, and he has adopted this belief that there is something wrong with him, and in particular his ability to learn, and he's not smart, right? Well, Henry and I sat there, put this on and showed him and did a couple of little exercises, and this child, for the very first time in his life, saw that A, he has a brain, right? Watched his thinking change. We went through some drills. We saw that this child has a very particular brain signature and had really high beta wave readings. And that is fascinating because the child's grandfather also has Parkinson's, right? So I don't know how to I don't want to make any statements about that, but I want to go and do some more research. But what happened was, we actually put the child through an exercise, and the child trained himself in 2 minutes to bring his beta waves down. Right? Unbelievable. The child completely changed. You could see in his eyes and his smiles. He was like, wow. The child has actually specifically been to all sorts of occupational therapists and educational therapists to learn how to focus in class. The child actually saw this avatar that the actual right side of the brain goes green when he's in flow, and it actually does it live. And when you are super focused, it shows your ignition and it gives you a rating. And it's actually called brain variable frequency, BFV, and they've actually patented all of that. And this particular young boy saw that he could focus. Do you know what we did for his beliefs? Right? We have totally changed the child's life in 30 minutes, forever. The outcomes are going to be vastly different. Vastly different. The next day, the father noticed we'd actually been teaching the child how to breathe in a particular way that actually affected the electrical brain. And the child was practicing that breathing the following day. The father says the child very rarely follows instructions easily and won't follow through on those instructions, but did the next day. He rang this morning and said, how can I get one of those bands? Because I want my child to learn how to do this. And I said, well, you know what, at this stage, it's actually a professional only option. You need to come essentially to me and I can put the focus band on the child and continue to run the child through some exercises. But what we've actually managed to test and trial overnight is that inside this particular group flow app, which by the way, if everybody's wondering, is like $50 up front and then something like $10 a month, you can actually now open it up and a positive prime session plays inside the app. And you can actually watch what happens to your brainwaves as you're watching the session, and then you can get a report, which is your graph, right? Unbelievable, isn't it? So the fascinating thing is that I don't have, even myself, $10,000 to pay Ricky to train me for 1 week so that I can be an elite athlete. But what I can do is figure out how to replicate Henry and how we can all be a part of it. And so what we have come to an agreement is that the actual training that he has devised to certify other focus band practitioners, he's actually going to offer exclusively through us as Positive Prime professionals. So we're going to have an opportunity. His training is ordinarily $2,500 US, and it takes a minimum of 2 days of your own self-learning preparation and then 2 days basically in kind of Zoom online training or in a live training workshop. And in that $2,500 US, you actually receive a focus band. A focus band is actually retailed, I think, at $500 US, right? But at the moment, it doesn't actually have a consumer-orientated app. So some people might have been out there and seen something like a Muse, right? There is actually a group of people who work in havening in trauma. And so we're actually working now with the team at Focus Band, and we're going to be involved in a very interesting trial that's actually ongoing right now. So in the United Kingdom, the Minister for Health has actually awarded a grant worth a lot of money to a particular group who are essentially measuring the brain with the Focus Band, and this is in a clinical trial. And the idea is that these people have serious mental health issues and they're effectively on disability and they're not at work. And the objective is to get these 100,000 people back to work through the first 10 people, then 100 people. And what they've been looking for is what happens when you actually start to train the brain. Is there essentially a tool or a resource that can cause people to become much healthier? And the answer is positive prime sessions, right? So one of the ways that we will be moving forward is almost immediately we'll be now integrated into this study with the Minister of Health in the United Kingdom and this particular trial. And obviously we can't make any claims just yet, but it's amazing that we would even be considered as a world-class, like the most amazing intervention to be tested along with this, about its impact for mental health and essentially having people return to work. So that's going to be a program that's about 18 months long. But what I have essentially agreed with Henry is that the first group of Positive Prime professionals who want to be a part of this journey, they can almost be like the people who will go through a beta version of the certification training and will be actually able to treat real people in the same way that we were treating this child yesterday, right? So the fascinating thing is that both of us have a price structure where most people pay on average around about $2,500 to become a certified Positive Prime practitioner with your own session, right? That's actually our general price, and his general price is about $2,500. But I said, what if we could get 10 people within the Positive Prime community or our current Positive Prime community of professionals who are already certified, what if they actually know some other professionals who might be interested? So we have come to an agreement, but this is how it's essentially going to work. You must be a Positive Prime professional, and if you're not yet, you actually have to organise your certification, right? And if you already have your certification, there's going to be a pathway for you too. So you won't actually have to go through the Positive Prime certification. Mind you, if you've already been through it and you want to go through it again, you can go through it again. So I'm here to make the first of our really huge announcements, and so we bring some lightheartedness to all of this because you've already been saying a lot. Can everybody take a nice big deep breath in? Breathe in for 3. Make sure that you do that. Put your hand here on your belly. Hand here on your belly. Breathe in so that you're actually pulling out your hand. And as you breathe out, pull your belly back in. Right? So breathe in, breathe out. And as you've actually breathed out, hold it. So have no breath for about the count of 5, and then breathe in for 3, breathe out for 3, and then hold it for 5. Ready? So we can get a little bit fun. Big announcement. Pam Burton in Charlotte, North Carolina is now officially the president of our professional program and division and community for Positive Prime. She's actually more than qualified. She's been super passionate since 2015 about our vision, about what we're trying to accomplish in the world, about how we're all going to participate in making the world a happier, healthier, better, brighter place. She has her Masters of Education. She's incredibly well equipped. She's a licensed clinical social worker, but like much more than that, she has the right heart. She absolutely, genuinely walks the talk. She is the most exceptional example of a positively primed human being who is celebrating others, who can be the right person to lead the support crew, the bunch of cheerleaders that we all are. And she's more than capable in actually really refining our curriculum and making sure that we teach you all, if you choose to be on this journey with us as Positive Prime professionals, to be absolutely world class. I'm actually just looking in here, and someone's just written, yes, Pam is a rock star. Yes, Pam is a rock star. Mm-hmm. So Pam has been very closely aligned with what I've been doing, and she's been a wonderful supporter. And the interesting thing is that she works beautifully with Patty Crummer. So the truth is, Patty Crummer, as the president of the entire Positive Prime for the United States of America, really now has Pam integrating everything that we do. Because one of our visions, and Pam, you can speak for yourself in a second, but one of our visions is to essentially replicate Pam and Patty and Henry and me into like one person who wants to make a fortune out of being associated with Positive Prime. So Pam, a couple of weeks ago, actually went and did essentially a workshop, a lunch and learn, some training in an organisation, a large organisation, and they paid her to do that. And she actually leveraged her knowledge and her understanding of the power of positive priming and all of the ingredients in the proprietary formula, and she wowed them, right? And then she gifted them her session, Kickstart with Heart, and they loved it. And then she actually slowly but surely guided them in how to actually sign up as a Positive Prime member. And then what she's crafting is essentially a way for these people to participate in a new company-led 100-day challenge where we all focus on positively priming ourselves. And what we want is for all of those people who are Positive Prime professionals to actually make a legitimate and exciting income by doing lunches and learns on the power of positive priming and having enough confidence and feeling comfortable enough and having the resources to actually go and sell themselves into organizations exactly the way Pam sold herself. So what I like about Pam being the leader here is that she is actually walking her talk. She is doing successfully what we are really desiring for other people. So she's physically earning an amazing income for herself, being an amazing workshop leader and inspiring others and informing others, right? But she also knows what's required for her to learn through the Positive Prime Professional process enough so that she can actually go and represent Positive Prime, and she can leverage it and the license to actually go share it. But she's also in a position now where she can actually consult to that organization who's now interested in creating their own session with their own messages for their own vision and values and their own actual internal programs. So one of the beautiful things is that let's all give, if you want to unmute yourself and then mute yourself again, a cheer for Pam and for Patty, because the amount of responsibility and accountability they have is enormous. However, we are really trying to do this as positively primed human beings so that we're actually celebrating and we're feeling lighthearted, and we don't want too much pressure and stress. We just want to change into these world-class human beings effortlessly and organically and swiftly and beautifully. So congratulations to both of these ladies. Okay. How blessed are we? So blessed. So if you've got any questions, any comments, any suggestions, what you need to know is we have a brand new, fresh intention for the Positive Prime professional journey, right? Every single person who is already certified by us, so every single one of you who is already certified by us, you need to get in touch with us if you want to actually be re-engaged and involved in the new rollout of the new curriculum, which really harnesses what we had before, but there is an improvement on it, and we are having it evolve over the next year, right? And so the annual fee for the professional development, what's really interesting about that is that we have decided internally that anybody who wants to be involved will essentially receive a really precious gift from us, right? So we're reigniting everything. We're getting going again. But I don't want to really focus on exactly what and how much. All I can tell you is that I think we need to actually have a conversation or an interview with each other again. If you're not yet a Positive Prime professional, like seriously, this is your very, very lucky day, right? So, for anybody who wants to be a part of this program, instead of $2,500, we've actually negotiated with Henry that it's $1,200, right? You get the focus band and you get certified, and you're one of essentially this inner circle who's going to be a part of what's actually going on, and you'll be able to go out and make your money. We have already tested this, so there are some people who are willing and capable of paying $300 to come and have one session with you as a brain performance trainer, right? So if you want to become a brain performance trainer and you want to actually learn a lot about essentially the electrical brain and how to leverage focus band and how to show people what their thinking is actually doing, in effect, you're going to be a brain performance trainer. And just for the Positive Prime professionals, that's $1,200, right? For anybody who is not yet a certified master or from the previous system, we've got a special opportunity for you. Now, the truth is you cannot say yes to that unless you're a Positive Prime certified master, right? So you must have your own session and you must have Positive Prime certification. So you must become a Positive Prime professional, because going forward inside the Group Flow app, the intervention, it's their words, intervention inside Focus Band for Group Flow is Positive Prime. right? So it's a little bit confusing because it's super brand new. It's really exciting, and I don't want anyone to think that they don't have time to ask questions, because you absolutely do. You can definitely have your consultation with me or with Pam, and we will try to have a conversation with everybody as fast as we can. Even Patty's available, and we will try to bring you up to speed on where we're at. Now, what's fascinating, but maybe not even fascinating, who actually did look at the videos of Selena Bartlett? Did everybody in that email go and watch the videos of Selena Bartlett? I hope so, and if not, go back and do it. So Selena Bartlett is currently a professor of neuroscience. She's actually associated with one of our most prestigious universities here, locally to me, which is super lucky because she's actually local to me, which makes it incredibly easy to facilitate the deep dives that we have to do. But she actually has also been involved in an amazing lab at the University of California, San Francisco, UCSF. And she in fact spends about 50% of her time still in the Bay Area. Anyway, she is actually one of the world's leading specialists on sugar addiction from a neuroscience point of view, from actual functional brain scans point of view. And she has created an amazing piece of tech. And she is actually going to be running a new series of classes for our Positive Prime professionals. So in that special price, instead of paying $2,500 for the package, for my birthday, we've actually got some pricing, and the actual certification is only $695, right? So if you're not yet a professional, you might look at becoming a Positive Prime professional for $695. That's actually going to include the stream that involves Dr. Selena Bartlett and, in effect, what she's doing with some new technology that we are all going to be a part of in terms of the actual clinical research as well. There's a new app that she's developed called Trace It, and it's actually what happens inside the brain. So effectively, we're taking this opportunity for a Positive Prime professional to be able to really feel like they have the confidence in the marketplace, and they feel very comfortable in their knowledge of being the only coaches and mentors and trainers and teachers out there who are legitimately linked with the latest and greatest in neuroscience and in brain training, right? It's going to be pretty full on, I must admit, because it's really exciting. And I have to tell you, I've even been in overwhelm over how much I've been learning from Selena and from Henry. And to that effect, the Positive Prime professionals who are also going to be brain training practitioners, right, brain performance practitioners with the focus band, you're actually going to have a new set of sessions that are going to teach you effectively all of the fundamentals and all of the aspects of neuroscience. So I'm working with Selena right now on actually creating incredible sessions that will be about teaching you what you need to know about the brain, about what sugar does to the brain, about what fear does to the brain, about, I mean, seriously, it's like, for me, it's so delicious. It's absolutely extraordinary. And what I love is it really differentiates us, right? There aren't any other institutes or schools out there for any coaches or any, you know, there just aren't, who are actually going down this path. Unless, of course, there's something that I don't know about, but we've been like really looking at what's on offer and thinking about how do we make sure that we equip you so that you really are achieving extraordinary results for your clients, right? And you can either do that in groups and organizations, and imagine, so I will tell you, we started a little test yesterday with the head of a manufacturing company, no, it was not yesterday, it was the day before, a manufacturing company, so that we're actually going to be doing a special case study on affecting safety in this particular organization. So in that particular organization, we're going to have them looking at safety sessions, so Positive Prime sessions that we've specifically curated on these safety messages, and these actual staff are going to learn about their electrical brain. So it's really about how and why the brain works, and they're actually going to see the effects and the impacts like live. as they're happening. It was so powerful to actually show this particular leader, because one of the things that can't be refuted is the power of positive prime, right? You actually put one of these headbands on and you watch what happens to the brain as you're watching a session, and it is absolutely phenomenal, because I would love for any of you to challenge me. It is actually exceptionally difficult to have human beings be in really high gamma waves ordinarily inside 3 minutes, right? And that's what our sessions can do for people. We will be actually also developing a new range of sessions that we are actually testing. So if you're high in beta, we will actually be releasing almost like a new stream that will bring you back down. Or if you want to boost in delta or theta or alpha, we're actually going to be able to literally balance out your brain waves. So we've already started to envisage this. Imagine you're watching a session, it's reading your brain, and then it actually notices your brain is not in what would be actually called coherence in terms of a BFV reading, so the brain frequency. So what's amazing is that we will be able to actually then, through artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, actually deliver to your brain more messages that will either calm you down or excite you, depending upon what your goal is. So if you're about to step out on stage, you don't want to be like a Zen zombie, right? If you're about to go into an audition because you're an actor, or you're about to go into a serious negotiation and you need to be in flow because you absolutely need to be seeing the big picture, fantastic, right? The consequences and the implications are incredible. The interesting thing I'm going to tell you about why we have to move quickly on this is that, and this is absolutely a true story, and I am recording this, but if we actually put this recording on a website page, I'm going to tell you it's only going to be there for 1 week, right? So all of the offers are actually, I should have said this before, they're only available for 1 week. So last week, the guys who are the head of Focus Band in the US organization were invited to go and do a special workshop for the entire board of directors of Headspace. Because Headspace, I don't know if you know this, is acquiring 1 million users per month. They have 44 million people who have downloaded the Headspace app, right? But interestingly enough, that entire board effectively wants to do a deal that involves Focus Band and us as a new frontier, because nobody in the world is doing what we're doing. Nobody in the world is doing what Focus Band is doing, right? Nobody in the world. And it is actually really bizarre to me. It's like synchro destiny that both of us are Australian. So I'm going to tell you the other really, really, really funny thing, right? Whilst we were gathered in Carlsbad together, Henry was out on that golf course at La Costa being paid by Deepak Chopra's CEO to train his son, and by Alice Walton, you know, as in Walmart's Walton, right? And so there is already a deal about how to actually integrate Focus Band into their programs. And as of yesterday, we actually imported Positive Prime into Focus Band, right? So this is seriously going to blow up beautifully, exponentially over the next year or two. But what's massively important to both of us is that we can trust our Positive Prime professionals who are also brain performance practitioners, right? We need to have a really high standard of excellence. Pam has a huge job of making sure that every single professional is undoubtedly the best in the world. But you've got to meet us more than halfway, right? You've got to be willing. If I say to you, there's this exceptional book on the electrical brain, you've really got to want to read it, right? If I say to you, there is this incredible case study, I want you to feel bold, and I want you to go out there and get yourself speaking opportunities where you're actually sharing the power of positive priming. We'll make sure that you feel comfortable in doing so. We'll be helping you to develop the script in your own language. You'll be going into organizations, you'll be making sure that you're getting paid, and you'll be sharing your referral code and giving away your session. And if they want to see what the effects are, you might indeed have your focus band and you'll be showing them. The power of that evidence is seriously going to transform your business, right? There is a part of me that actually wants to really focus on schools as well after I saw what happened to this child yesterday, right? Imagine going into classrooms and showing children what happens to their brains when they think a certain way or think a certain something. What happens when we show them a positive prime session? Oh, good Lord, right? I know. Isn't it exciting? So we do have payment plans. We do have these specials. It is at least 50% off or more than. If you want to combine them both, if you've already got one aspect and you want to build the next aspect. But here's what I want to also tell you, right? Are you ready for the next massive announcement, because we've already been together for quite a long time now? I need to screen share. Just let me screen share and you can all write this down. Hang on 1 second. I need to just show you. Hang on 1 second. I'm here, Google Chrome. All right, ready? I am beside myself excited at this, okay? Like, I get really excited normally and really passionate. You should have seen me for 2 whole days. I nearly like frazzled myself. We actually went for a beautiful walk on the national park along the ocean, and we went swimming in the most crystal clear water yesterday. It was just divine. But I absolutely had to do that just to ground myself, because this is so way over the top, beyond our wildest expectations. So can you all see Google Chrome at the moment? Right. So not everybody knows that in the new positive prime world, what actually happens is that you sign up and you receive 120 credits. And that's at the moment during this special period, and that's going to end. There might be a change in the number of credits, but anyway, at the moment it's 120 credits when you sign up. And what happens is you then go to the store. Actually, let me just see if I can get in here for you. You go to the store and you then use those credits to buy a session. And a session is 120 credits. Actually, I want to show you the store inside, so I'm going to do this. But what happens when you actually refer somebody else is that you get 120 credits yourself, as well as the other person getting 120 credits, right? Does everybody understand that? And your credits accumulate, and you actually get different ranks. And so we have this aspect for our positive prime professionals. It's only for our professionals. Once you've actually got your own session, you've got your certification, and you've got a focus band, and you're actually qualified to use this, you're going to be elevated to the new title of positive prime consultant. You're going to be a consultant, right? So what will happen is all of our users, and we've got, obviously tens of thousands of them, and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing. Our users, once they've actually earned themselves 450 credits, they will be at the aquamarine level. We will be getting in touch with them, and we would say, would you actually like an appointment with one of our positive prime consultants? And that positive prime consultant is going to help you to define your goals so you can get really clear, is going to explain to you how to get into flow, is actually going to help you understand why being positive and being in a really happy place is really important for change and learning. They're going to actually help you to actually really understand what you're grateful for and why. They're actually going to help you to personalize your sessions. They're going to help you to figure out how you upgrade your membership and how you absolutely add in photographs that are going to personalize your session. So you see photographs of yourself, you see photographs of your goals, et cetera, and they're actually going to be like a cheerleader to you. And in effect, what we're really doing is creating a lead opportunity. for our Positive Prime consultants. Those Positive Prime consultants in that appointment, in that actual connection, will have the rights to actually offer the people that they're connecting with their own coaching program or their own program. And Pam and Patty and I will be helping you to figure out what it is that you offer and how it is that you offer to them. But what we do know that a lot of coaches and mentors and trainers, they actually have difficulty acquiring really the potential customers or clients, right? And so this is going to be an opportunity for you to have people actually fed out to you. Now, because of the number of members that are joining Positive Prime, there won't be necessarily a huge number of consultants that we'll actually be sharing the leads with. So it'll be limited, and we're going to limit the number of consultants that we have, which is why we don't want to actually essentially go out there and really quickly grow this professional community beyond what it is that we can manage expertly and with excellence, right? Because we actually don't want to spread ourselves too thin, but we also don't want to spread the leads too thin. So the truth is, we actually said in one of these webinars about 6 weeks ago that if you earn yourself more than 25,000 credits by sharing Positive Prime with over 200 people and having those people sign up, and you reach the level of diamond, we are going to match you to thank you. Do you know that a brand new professional to our community has actually achieved prize number 1, right? And so congratulations, Gwen. I am so excited for you. On our next professional webinar, I want you to share your story. So Gwen has only just joined us. She's only just organized to have her own Positive Prime session created with her own messages. She is a qualified, experienced physiotherapist. She runs a clinic, and she has been using Positive Prime with her patients with respect to helping them with their moods and how it relates to pain. I want her to tell the story. But she actually shared Positive Prime and has over 25,000 credits from over 200 people signing up in the last week. She can choose. She has the choice. We will either give her an all expenses paid holiday to come to Australia to stay with me here at Northwest for 4 nights and be a part of our premium program, or she can actually have her own white label app and of course the certification and everything else that comes with it now to be a consultant, right? Or she could actually have a $5,000 package of premium coaching with me, which could also mean that I introduce her to other of my friends who are all these, you know, amazing world-class people who are, you know, New York Times bestselling authors, and actually secure for her additional opportunities in case she wants to be accepted into Christine Carlson's new program. Christine Carlson has a brand new program you need to be accepted into that is extremely high level, that helps you to become a New York Times bestselling author, right? And it's an incredibly intense program, et cetera, et cetera. So seriously, can you believe it? I love it. It gives me so much joy to say thank you, 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 Gwen. Thank you. And I am so delighted for you to choose which prize. Now, you don't have to choose just yet. Allow yourself to think about it and allow yourself to get in contact with me, and on the telephone, we will actually talk about which prize you want and why. But I am so proud of you, and the entire professional community benefits from your contribution, because you now have over 250 additional amazing professionals in the physiotherapy world who are now at least exposed to Positive Prime, and we will be encouraging them, of course, to actually upgrade so that they can edit the sessions. They'll be sharing it with their patients. I cannot tell you what I love about ripple effects. So I'm back here, and I just want to all show you, once you share your referral code, which you actually get, no matter who you are on the planet, you get your referral code. Mine is actually Kim24. Of course, don't use mine. You can go in and actually tell somebody to go to positiveprime.com, go and sign up absolutely for free and give them your referral code, all right? Give them your referral code. Everybody on the planet has a referral code. That means that you will receive 120 credits, and then you go to shop sessions and you can actually use your credits to acquire content. Now up here where it says all, go and click on the word search, right? In the shop sessions area, go and click on the word search, and you will see that there is actually a list of the sessions that we currently have. And you might want to grow this to like 20 rows. And so you will actually go and see the sessions that with those 120 credits, you can actually acquire. So if you go and share this with a lot of people in your workplace or in your local church community or in your sporting team or in your class or with your clients, you will receive 120 credits. As you do that, you're actually having your credits essentially grow. So Gwen has literally got 25,000 credits. So we have actually gifted her, in effect, the value of another 25,000 credits. So she literally has $5,000 worth of a gift, and she can choose one of those three things. There are all sorts of other gifts that we can choose. So if you are really keen on making sure that you reach one of these ranks and you receive the rewards that go with it, then absolutely get ready. I am going to tell you that I'm going to run another one of these programs very soon. So make sure you stay tuned for the announcement, and everybody will have a month to get themselves 25,000 credits. And we will actually be doing a new special competition with 3 new special prizes. But I absolutely love it. I'm so excited. I cannot tell you. I'm so excited. Alrighty. So the other thing that I want you to do, if you're really interested in coming on this journey with us, is go to positiveprime.com and go to the science area. Once you're in the science area, which I'll click on for all of you right now, I want you to see that there are elements on that page. I want you to click on each one of the elements, and I want you to literally go and do a little bit of research, a little bit of learning on your own, and go and see what are the elements that actually ensure that Positive Prime works, right? Because this is really the fundamental foundation of where we start in terms of the professional journey. So if you want to be a brain performance trainer with Focus Band, you need to get in touch with either Patty, Pam, me, or Mayumi ASAP. You have literally until the end of this week to say yes at that special price. So it's Monday, March the 11th for me, Sunday if you're in North America. So it's actually not yet Monday the 11th for you. So by the end of this week on Sunday, you have to have said yes and organised your payment either up front in full or in a payment plan. And of course, there's a small financing charge. If you're already somebody in our community, then make sure that you come and talk to me about that. If you're not yet in our community, go here to the science area, have a look at all of the elements, go and click on it. For example, go click here for the happiness area. And what it'll do is it'll open up a new page. Each one of these elements does. Go watch the videos that are on each one of the pages. Learn as much as you can, and then decide if you're coming on this journey with us. You might have a few little questions like, do you need to be a Positive Prime professional who's certified in order to have your own session? The answer is no. You could be like my speaking coach, and you could have your own session that you give to clients that reinforces your actual teachings, but you might not want to be a Positive Prime professional because you might not actually want to be able to go and share what the power of Positive Prime is with the larger audience. And you might not then eventually want to be a brain training, brain performance practitioner, right? So let's talk about who you are, what your goals are, what you hope for your own business and your own professional journey over the next year or so. And just know that if you don't take advantage, and I must admit, I did say to Henry, I think we're going to need to do 2 classes so that we have a maximum of 10 people in each Zoom class for the practitioner training for the Focus Band. So if there's 20 of you, it might be 2 classes, and we might actually not run them both at the same time. So they'll be live. And I think that the first one's actually going to start in April, because we need to make sure that we've actually shipped to you your focus band, right? And then we actually also have to organise a special price for you to be able to buy them at a practitioner price, in case you want to then sell them to your clients after you're certified. So I'm sure there are questions. I know that you've all been really patient. Let me just show you that the celebration that is today is that if you want a session, the session is only $295 US, and it's a once-off payment. So if you don't want to be certified in positive crime, you don't have to be. If you actually do sign up for this particular session only option, we will gift you the hosting inside the main store. And I'll give you an example. We have lots of corporate clients, or we have lots of schools who are clients. We have people who are creating sessions for their own private audiences. It might be their students in their own class, or it might be members in their own network marketing team, or it might be brand new recruits who are just joining an organization. And obviously it's not for general public consumption, so their session is not going into our store. And you don't get to go into our store unless you're a positive crime certified professional, right? We're not going to have people that we don't know have their sessions listed inside our store, because effectively what's actually happening is the number of members who are joining positive crime is actually really growing quite rapidly. And because everybody who joins has 120 credits, they might use their 120 credits to buy a session from an author they've never even heard of. But what I want them to do is feel really powerful about their choice, and know that if they choose Pam Burton's session, or they choose Bruce Barnes' session, or they choose Gwen Rose's session, the fact is they know that they've been really approved by Positive Crime as world-class professionals who have really important messages to share, right? So it's not automatic that if you have a session, you actually have it listed inside our main store, so that you actually achieve all of that extra exposure. But of course, there is a cost to all of that, particularly in terms of computer programming. So the reality is there's an annual fee for that you won't have to pay for next year. So I can send you this link. All right? So get in touch with us and let us guide you on what's going to work best for you and your business and your goals, your income hopes and dreams. I can actually hear there are some people who aren't on mute. Just tell me, I'm going to quickly go up here to chat and see if there's any questions just before I run away. Woohoo! Okay. Oh, do you know what, Gwen? There are so many little chat notes in here congratulating you. I love that. I'm so proud of you. Gwen does actually say that she does have to think about what she's doing, but she might be coming to Australia next year. Wouldn't that be awesome? But do you know what would be even more awesome? If more of you actually earned that right, okay? So the reality is that you only have to go and get yourself 25,000 credits, and you could quite frankly come and stay with me for a couple of days, right? You could come to Serafini Mind Spa. It's really, really simple and easy to do. It's really, really, really simple and easy to do. And you could do it pretty quickly. All right, so I think that's about it. I love you all, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you who've got more questions, reach out to us. I will have Mayumi share the recording of this with those people who have registered. And beyond that, love you, love you, love you. And I'm off to actually celebrate my birthday and have heaps of fun. So I won't be answering anyone's questions today. Love you all. Thank you. Ciao.